Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Dr. Safdar Syal. We shall be discussing a very important topic in urology, that is PUJ obstruction. PUJ stands for pelvic-ureteric junction obstruction. We'll be discussing etiology, definition, etiology, epidemiology, clinical presentation, differential diagnosis, investigation, treatment. So, by definition, uretropelvic junction obstruction is defined as a partial or complete obstruction of the flow of urine from the renal pelvis to the proximal ureter. It can be congenital or acquired, with a congenital PUJ obstruction being one of the commonest causes of antenatal hydronephrosis. So, if you come across a case of antenatal hydronephrosis, PUJ obstruction is the most commonest cause. Etiology: intrinsic obstruction may result from stenosis due to scarring of ureteral valves. Extrinsic obstruction by ureteral hypoplasia may result in abnormal peristaltic emptying of the renal pelvis into the ureter through the PUJ. The British system, it's called PUJ, pelvic-ureteric junction obstruction, and in American they called it as UPJ, uretropelvic junction obstruction. So sometimes it's confusing PUJ or UPJ. So I again repeat, the British system they call, British and the European, they called as PUJ, pelvic-ureteric junction, and American or North America, in America and Canada, they called as UPJ, uretropelvic junction. So, crossing lower renal vessels or entrapment of the ureter by vessel can prohibit urinary flow down to the ureter. So, this crossing vessel may be one of the reason. Rotation of the kidney and renal hypermobility may be one of the reason. Iatrogenic obstruction caused by prior surgical intervention to treat other disorders or failed repair of a primary UPJ obstruction. Epidemiology: by ultrasonography, if the patient is not symptomatic, but by just ultrasonography, 1 of 100 pregnancy present with fetal upper urinary tract dilatation. So even before birth, the fetus is present with upper dilatation. 1 in 100 pregnancy, and 1 in 500 are diagnosed with significant urological problems. So this is the prevalence during the intrauterine life. UPJ obstruction is present in 50% of patients diagnosed with antenatal hydronephrosis. So if you come across a pregnancy with fetus having hydronephrosis, so 50% of the cases it is due to UPJ. The male to female ratio is 3 to 4 into 1. The left kidney is more commonly infected than the right, no reason given. UPJ obstruction is less common in adults. UPJ obstruction is bilateral in about 10% of the cases, it's bilateral. Clinical presentation: if the neonates would present with hydronephrosis, and the older children will present with urinary tract infection, flank mass, intermittent flank pain, secondary to a primary UPJ obstruction, hematuria if it is associated with infection. And adults, back and flank pain correlates with periods of increased fluid intake, ingestion of food with or diuretic properties. So in adults, the patient would present that he or she feels pain, flank pain, while taking lot of fluids. This is called Dieter's crisis. Patients in adults may present with urinary tract infection like pyelonephritis, may present with hypertension, or may present with abdominal mass. But abdominal mass, usually patient presents in children. They present with abdominal mass instead of adults. Differential diagnosis: it includes other causes of hydronephrosis. Imaging studies differentiate UPJ obstruction from the following conditions: mosaico-ureteric reflux, transient hydronephrosis or functional hydronephrosis, Other urological anomalies include posterior urethral valves, congenital megaureter, ureterocele, and multicystic dysplastic kidney. So investigations, laboratory tests, certain laboratory tests like CBC, coagulation profile, electrolyte level should be done, renal function test should be done, and urine culture should also be advised. Ultrasonography. On ultrasonography, often show a dilated renal pelvis with a collapsed proximal ureter like this one. This is the big roomy pelvis and this is the dilated Calixial system. With Doppler ultrasonography, the obstructed kidney can show higher resistive index. This is, the resistive index is calculated on ultrasonography, and the ultrasonographer would let you know that it's a case of UPJ due to high resistive index. Diuretic renography, it is performed to differentiate between obstructive versus non-obstructive hydronephrosis. Sometimes there is congenital dilatation of the pelvis without obstruction. This is called non-obstructive hydronephrosis. PUJ obstruction will demonstrate excretion downward slope on the renogram after administration of diuretic from the collecting system. And mechanical obstruction hydronephrosis will demonstrate no downward slope on renogram. Normally, there is uptake by the kidney. This is uptake of the radiopharmaceutical by the kidney, and then there is gradual decline. In case of PUJ obstruction, there is take up and there is slow decline. Most of the time it's contained inside the pelvis and there is slow downward slope. But in case of mechanical obstruction, there is uptake and the slope continues at upwards. There is no downward slope. On CT, may show evidence of hydronephrosis plus minus caliectasis with collapsed ureters, useful for assessing crossing vessels at the PUJ, especially when surgical intervention is planned. So it will give you, the CT would give you regarding the hydronephrosis. Fluoroscopy like IBU will give you about the evidence about the hydronephrosis. Dilatation of the pelvis and the Calixial system with stenotic uretropelvic junction. Delayed drainage of contrast media from the renal pelvis. Intravenous urography is often not used in children since better alternative MR urography are available. So normally what happens is, like on the left side, the contrast is taken up by the kidney and then it is excreted into the ureter and into the bladder. But in case of this PUJ obstruction, the contrast is taken up by the kidney and deposited into the pelvis. So the contrast doesn't drain into the ureter and downward. Here, in case of PUJ obstruction, the pelvis is big and roomy. MRU, it is used in assessing UPJ obstruction. The study also provides details of renal vasculature, renal pelvis anatomy, location of the crossing vessels, renal cortical scarring, and ureteral fetal folds in the proximal ureter. So it's because there are many children present with many abnormalities, so it's more informative in MRU, magnetic resonance urography is more informative in case of children. Treatment, medical therapy. No medical therapy is available to correct the PUJ obstruction, except if the patient is having pain, you can give intramuscular NSAID and the pain would get relieved. Surgical, the accepted criteria for intervention in infants and children include clearance half time greater than 20 minutes, differential function test less than 40%. This differential function is calculated on differential renogram is taken by the pharmaceutical. Radiopharmaceutical is given and the differential renogram is taken and calculated. Ongoing parenchymal thinning with or without controlating compensatory hypertrophy. It's also decided on it. Associated symptoms like pain, hypertension, hematuria, secondary renal calculi, and recurrent urinary tract infection. Open pyeloplasty. This is how it is done. It is called Anderson-Heinz dismembered pyeloplasty. It is still the gold standard. Through the lumbar incision, kidney is reached, and this is the pelvis, and this is the stenotic pelvic-uteric junction, and this is the ureter. A part of the pelvis is dissected, and a part of this stenotic uretero-pelvic junction is excised, and then the ureter is anastomosed with the pelvis. This is uretero-pelvic junction. A pyeloplasty is done in this way. Endopylotomy. The kidney is punctured from upside, a stent is placed in, and then a DJ stent is placed down the ureter. It is the DJ stent is put here for 4 to 8 weeks, and it is done in secondary PUJ obstructions. Spiral or vertical flaps. When the PUJ obstruction is very long, a flap is created from the pelvis and a new PUJ is constructed. Laparoscopic pyeloplasty. It is less invasive than the open pyeloplasty, but more but the less people are trained in laparoscopic pyeloplasty because the learning curve is more. Everything is the same as in the open pyeloplasty, except it is less invasive and it is done laparoscopically. So by the follow-up, prophylactic antibiotics should be given post-operatively. Remove the endopylotomy stent after 4 to 8 weeks. Follow up with renal ultrasonography 3 to 4 months after surgery. Follow up with IVPR nuclear scan is done every 3 months. Serial renal imaging is recommended for the first year after surgery. Thank you very much. God bless all of you.